I'd like to call the capital budget meeting to order. Ed was here last month, but we ran out of time, so Ed, if you wanted, I think we
Can I
left
do
off
roll
at,
call?
oh, I'm sorry.
Mrs. Labuda.
Here.
Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Mr. Steingart.
Here.
Mr. Ruiz.
Here.
Mr. Potosik. Mr. Cohen, but Nancy's here for Ira.
Okay. I think we left off at paving, if I'm not mistaken. Ed, you wanna,
Yeah, we went into paving and bridge, I believe was where our last,
he's on, no, okay.
we'd put in another,
There's no page.
I don't have page numbers on mine.
Yeah, we don't either.
Okay. Okay, so that's number 1, 2, 3. Next time we'll have measurement number 4. 5, 6, 7,
What are we doing?
8.
Paving?
Let's page them. 8, 9,
Page 'em?
10. And we're just gonna talk about the 2015 capital budget. We're not gonna move, to any of the years. 11,
Sorry.
hi Josh, 12. Okay, 12, okay. Next time we'll have him show a number of these. Okay, so we're gonna, Ed, you wanna start, on page 1, we were talking about the backhoes, the equipment you wanna replace. Is yours, go to your,
Yeah,
are you on that page? Okay.
I don't have the same thing as you guys in order, so I'll have
Okay,
to jump around a
okay,
little
so-
bit here, I guess.
You wanna give me a copy? Go ahead, yeah, let's do it that way,
Okay,
okay?
Page 12.
So, shall Josh use one? You want one?
I could
all right.
know everything that's in there.
I know.
On our first page in our equipment, we're looking at 1 backhoe next year.
And tell us-
We try to do them on a rotating basis so we don't have a pile of them all due at once. So that's why we're doing 1 a year for a while. We're just trying to get some of our equipment updated.
And the backhoe, how many backhoes do you have that are workable?
How many exact,
'Cause I know some,
on a daily basis that
One?
changes, so.
and the backhoe goes out
No,
to
we-
floods and.
I wouldn't expect
Yeah.
any other answer, because if anybody who's ever worked in a DPW, they should know, things
Yeah,
happen.
they get shifted around. We keep them
Okay.
at all our transfer stations
Okay.
for work as well, so 8 probably right now on the roads. They're in each storm station.
Okay.
We'll actually have them on the road on County Road 127 this morning. Apparently, we did have some ditch washout from
Oh,
the
Lord.
flood previously where we had made repairs in
Okay.
Calhoun that are currently, we're going to have to do some cleanup. We got a call from town of Calhoun this morning letting us know that, so we're out on the road with that today. It seems to be the worst of what we had, so we'll
Well,
take
it's only
that as
that,
the
yeah.
rain stops, but,
That's 80,000?
yeah.
Well, 52's holding up well.
Does
Okay,
anybody
so
know
you
where
know.
we are?
Yeah, Cora, the first
We're on the
page,
first
right
page.
here,
Oh,
back up.
one.
We'll start,
Page 1.
yeah, I'll
And I
work
numbered the
through this.
pages, so now we're going to
We'll
page 2.
go right through
Yeah,
the
I
beginning.
numbered them. but-
Thanks, okay, so page 2, Ed? Okay.
Okay. On this one, we have 1 roller. Our rollers are
Tell 'em
getting
the
quite
names.
old. We use them, using 2 right now on the airport perimeter road as we're constructing that. We use them on all our road projects, so.
And it's better to buy one than to rent them?
Yes, availability is always a question too under that. I mean, you can try to rent all your equipment, but around here, people are trying to rent it in the summer when we need it. So you're in competition to get it. You're not always guaranteed you're going to get it. So if it was absolutely always available, we could look into that and see what the cost difference would be, but there is not enough equipment available to do that all the time.
And we don't have any cost sharing with any other of the towns with rollers?
Not for that, no, we do not at this time. We
Would that
do,
help?
we do use equipment back and forth with the towns.
But would that help? If you did a cost sharing with the town or not?
It's possible with some equipment. Again,
With
it's a
this
very
roller.
short construction season and everybody's trying to use the stuff all at once.
the
is
same time.
The stuff that runs into with something like that.
Okay, page 3, which is the, go ahead, lifts and.
We're trying to do a lift over in Maplewood,
And the lift is, explain that please?
for working on vehicles, motor pulling, different things out there.
So.
We consolidated out of Berryville into Maplewood, and we're still addressing some issues in Maplewood to make it more
These are for the larger
functional.
vehicles, right? After
Yes,
the
for the
tandems
trucks.
and stuff?
Yep,
Yeah,
for the truck
okay.
work and for a grader or anything else we bring in.
Yeah, okay.
So let me just get clear, Ed, that the
Mhm.
items that you're highlighting are things that are on the priority list, and the other things you're not mentioning are still in the capital budget, they'll still be approved, or they're not as
They're
high?
different, no.
I'm just walking
priority.
through 2015 at this point.
You haven't skipped, right? You're moving back
No,
through.
what he's
Moving-
saying is that he's just
Right.
moving through the ones that are in that first column.
I'm doing
Yeah, we're just-
2015 at this
yeah, we're
point.
not concerned about the other years for now. Okay. The cars, you have
Then-
one, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, we're trying to, our fleet definitely needs vehicles in it. We are scrambling downstairs all the time, trying to get enough vehicles on the road for people. Working with DFS when they need a vehicle, so we have a very limited number of cars right at this point, and those are getting some miles on them. They're getting way out there, so that's why we're trying to, you know, our pool cars here.
Are you
Start
looking at
upgrading
some
them.
of the cars that are, energy, you know, those?
To the extent that we can,
Well, they cost twice as much as what he has here.
yeah,
The
At this
energy
point.
savings in the gas,
Yes.
I'm wondering if we're heading down to the city with a number of those cars, if any of that is worthwhile, have you looked into that?
yes, we
And
have.
I know that I don't own one, and I know that it wouldn't get up my driveway, but you know where you're going, so
Yes,
you
we
have a
have looked
better
at that
idea. Okay.
in a number of cases, and we look at it from a couple standpoints, not just the initial cost, it's the ability to work on different types of vehicles. So if you go to an all-electric vehicle, we would have to retool at least part of our shop in order to be able to work on those vehicles, or else you're sending those out for repairs.
Plus
So
you'd have
that's
to have
having
charging
consideration.
stations.
Yeah, if we go into something that's strictly electric.
This was
Um,
one of Alan's pet peeves a couple years ago, remember Alan, we
And we
looked
deal
into
over,
it? Yeah.
off the OGS bid
Yeah.
is where we get most of our vehicles at this point in time, but we have looked at that, yes.
And you found it's not efficient.
Cost effective,
It's
yeah.
not cost
It's
effective.
not, it has not proven to be at this point in time. It may be in the future, and we'll continue to look at it, but we haven't seen a big benefit at this point. Especially not to go to a plug-in type vehicle at this point, doesn't have the range,
No, I'm
doesn't
not
have
suggesting
anything
that,
like
I'm
that.
suggesting that one.
We use fuel efficient small vehicles. I mean, we get decent mileage on almost all our vehicles. We're pushing in the 30-mile, you know, a gallon range at this point. We look for.
I made it to Buffalo
for
on
that,
3/4 of
but
a
we're not-
tank.
We're not going to the electric cars at this point.
Or the
So you're
alternate,
just
the
looking-
ones that go back.
The hybrids,
Yeah,
It's a long way to Buff.
Yeah.
you have looked into that?
yeah.
So Ed, if you could clarify something for me, or Melissa. My understanding
say it.
is that we have a rotating fleet here at the government center in Monticello, so anybody who needs a vehicle, if there's a vehicle available, they can do it. The issue at DFS is that different chargebacks prevail for different departments, depending on whether they're federally reimbursed or state reimbursed.
There is some things that go into when you get vehicles under a grant, what that vehicle can be used for.
So that means some vehicles will just be sitting there, while others, in other words, because you can't transfer between one program and another.
It is a possibility. You have to look at that on a case-by-case specific basis and
Right.
what funds were used to purchase that vehicle and what it's allowed to be used for, and for how many years or how many miles.
So that's not under your jurisdiction, that's under the financial officers up there?
Well, we're looking into, because right now, say you get a public health grant, the public health grant specifically in the grant buys the vehicle, you're precluded from using that for any other purpose other than what the grant delineates. So we're looking at to see how it would work if, well, we're just gonna buy the car with county funds and then charge back the grant for miles and maintenance to see how that would work. That would be the only way to get around that. You'd have to buy it with county share dollars and then charge back the grant for if it's possible to do that. So that's what we're looking in for the specific
So
grants.
in that scenario, that means that the car wouldn't just be sitting there if a different program needed to use
In
it.
theory, yeah, you could have a DFS employee use it one day, then a public health, community services, so you could rotate it, but we're checking on the funding sources to see how that all would work. If they would allow this, like the IRS mileage rate, can we charge back the granting or funding source for the IRS mileage rates?
What do you know for this financial year?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to get something. I don't know if it's gonna make the tenant, but we're looking to see if we can get. I mean, there's vehicles outside of DPW to purchase for public health and DFS anyway. So we're looking to see whether we should just outright buy them from county funds and then charge back the grants as they
Right.
use them, versus having the funding agencies directly buy them themselves. So yeah,
So this isn't really the.
and the
place to
cars,
talk about
it would be something for. These would all be purchased next year, so we have some time, and
Okay.
you're not gonna be purchasing them January 1st, so we have even a few months, probably into the new year, to figure out how all that would work.
Thanks.
Do
So
you
when
know
you're looking
approximately, oh, sorry.
When you're looking into your fleet, then you're basically excluding public health use in the fleet.
Well, I think he's talking about the government.
Yeah, we
This is
almost have
government
two
government
separate
yeah.
fleets, cause we keep some vehicles here for
Fleet
use,
right out here.
everybody in this
But
building.
in this fleet that you're
This is here.
addressing,
This is here.
This is these, not the public health.
Correct.
Or
This is
DFS,
not for
yeah.
public health, this is for general county use.
And how many vehicles out of the fleet in Liberty do you, estimate have that grant piece to it?
Pretty much all of them at this point. So I don't know how we would address the ones we've already purchased, but certainly I think if this would work, going forward, we could convert to this other model. But yeah, generic, whether it's a specific grant or they use just their generic funding sources, they almost like position, they offset it 75 cents on the dollar. They do the same thing with vehicles. I mean, it's all different depending on what department it's in, but just generally, they draw down federal, state revenue against, or grant funds against the purchase price of the vehicle.
Okay, Cora?
Yep,
Answer your question? Okay.
very well,
Okay.
thank you.
Ed?
All right. In the same vein, we're also looking for one van here that we use for,
The veterans?
no.
Yeah, oh,
that'd
okay,
be
just wondering,
different,
okay.
We're still
No,
trying
this
to
is
get
from here.
rid of donated
Veterans got
vans.
their own. They're working on it now at BOCES.
It's not enough, but.
That's 2 years they've been trying to get their own.
Exactly.
Well, the
Right.
first one, what
But-
the hell?
Okay,
Again, now, we're looking at pickup trucks in DPW. We do this pretty
You
much every
rotate
year.
them? I mean, a couple of years, you
That
know.
we run all the time. So we're looking at a number of them. We are definitely on a vehicle shortage right now in DPW. There's no question about it. We are retiring vehicles quite regularly at this point.
What's the total in each category, the total fleet?
oh no,
I mean,
I don't know exactly what you're asking, but
Okay, so in 2015, you're replacing 5, in 2016, you're replacing 5, in
Mhm.
2017, you're replacing 8, in 2018, you're replacing 3, in 2019, you're replacing 3. You have a starting number, your fleet is X.
our fleet right now is probably around 25. I don't know the exact
Pickups.
number. Pickups, I mean, we use them in
Right,
every
just for-
facility, on every job, pulling pumps, tools. You know, our primary vehicle in DPW is a pickup truck.
Okay.
Either
so-
that or a dump truck, you
Yeah.
know, but, I mean, most of our stuff going around in there is a pickup truck.
Okay, so if you add all of the replacements, it comes out to 33. So if you were to follow this throughout the schedule, you would end up with a fleet of 33? Is that how we're
This
looking
is
at it?
24.
Yeah, it's 24.
Sorry, I can't add.
yes, you
They're
can.
threes.
Yeah, and I mean.
Oh, okay, so you're staying with a stable fleet.
Yeah, we're trying to, you know, rotate this around, and
Replacement
these trucks
schedule.
aren't, I mean,
Well, how many
Yeah,
miles?
They're
usually it was
used.
5 or 6 years.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
they-
get,
Yeah.
they get
Yeah.
worked. They're
No,
not,
I'm just trying to get a sense of
yeah,
what our
they'll have
starting
plows
point
on a
is.
number of them.
So that means that by 2019 or
That'll kill 'em right
2020,
there.
you'll have gone
Yeah.
through a complete fleet replacement.
Approximately. Our guys are very good at keeping stuff running, but still, it gets to a point, you know, especially they're used in the salt a lot more than a lot of vehicles. Usually, it's more something like the frame's rotted out
Yep.
that takes our trucks off the road than other things. The motors, they can keep running, the bodies and the frames, though, you come to a point you can't fix them anymore.
So every 5 years, you have pretty much replaced that previous fleet?
About that. And, I mean, we're trying to keep photographic record of anything we take off too. If there's one of these days, we do a lot of PowerPoints with different things, when people come up and go through a vehicle's PowerPoint for you and see
No, I've
where
seen
our
it,
roads come off
believe
the
me.
road.
I'm just trying to get a sense of how these rotate out.
Okay,
And I can get you more specifics on that, you know, if that's the question on our
No,
entire
this isn't-
fleet. We
this
can give
isn't
you a
specifics
complete
on
breakdown of
the-
all our
Yeah, it's
fleet
pretty
vehicles.
well spelled out.
okay, so page 4, everybody
Yeah.
understands the van and the fleet and the, okay, so we're on page 4, Ed?
Okay, I don't have, but this is the pickups, we just did pickups.
Right, okay, right.
We're looking at now, between our medium and heavy-duty trucks,
I'm still doing that,
you know, we'll just,
okay.
they're a similar condition right now. We need a couple medium duties. We've been putting along some of the purchases.
Sorry, Jim.
And we're looking at one heavy-duty truck this year.
Yeah. I could use somebody to fan me, it's hot in here.
And all the vehicles obviously go through Kathy Jones's office, and we do go on the state bid, so if we get
State
them
bid
at, we get
primary
them at,
is our primary.
yeah, get them as
If
cheap
there's
as we
something not
can.
on the state bid, then we have to do specs and spec out a vehicle specific to that.
Well, now you have that other policy. What's it
Best
called?
value?
Best value?
Because one of them, it was like 1 cent cheaper to come get it from somewhere up north, and if we'd stayed local, we would have saved on transportation costs, but it wasn't part of that best value.
Yeah, I don't know that you can use best value just to pick a local vendor, but if there's other transportation related costs that we would
Right.
incur, yeah, you could consider that, but it can't just solely be we want to pick a local vendor versus someone in ours, or all, there has to be another reason
Well, it was
beyond
just
just.
weird how the price
Yeah.
came out like that.
And we could always look at, you know, if the vendor was in California and you had to send the truck back to them to be worked on as opposed to
Yeah.
someone local, that
Good
does
luck.
come into it even without best value. That can be something, if your warranty says, yeah, we'll sell you the truck for half price, but if you warranty it, you have to ship it to us to get repaired, they can consider that as part of it as well. And that wouldn't be best value, that would just be technically best value. It's what's most advantageous to the county.
Okay, page 5, I think that was,
Yep.
the rest is
This is where we start to do some of our, what's
Okay.
coming up in buildings.
Okay,
Emergency services. We're
okay,
doing some work for Mr. Martinkovic out there. We need some new gutter work, ripped up
no
ice.
state grant for that money since it's
He tries to get some.
oh, okay,
We have it in here just in
Grants,
case.
okay.
We do have some grant money we're using to do parking lot lighting out there this year. We have a bid going out shortly to improve lighting for, they have a lot of night classes out there. So when they pull in, we did a set of plans for that. That'll be going out to bid shortly, that Dick said he has money for.
Energy efficient lighting.
yes.
Actually, it is LEDs, as a matter of fact. We were looking
We'll
at
only
them.
use them at night.
I like that, that's good.
Very good.
There's quite a number that are on in the day.
I know that.
Not here, not on
Yeah.
DPW grounds.
Right. No,
I
actually, we
couldn't
did,
resist, I'm sorry.
we did, we
Nice
did
that
consider,
likes the meter of the run. That's
no, that is why, we did actually look at them and came up with LED, so we are
That's
trying to be
cool.
as green as possible whenever we can.
The Barryville
Yeah,
consolidation.
we still have money, we're still working on, we'd really like to get another building constructed over at Maplewood, for additional room out there for efficiencies. We are tight in there, working in the road maintenance buildings with working on trucks. We have split with snow trucks in half of the building towards, working on trucks. So we're trying to get a separate building out there to, another one to house just working on vehicles, and a
At
separate one
Maplewood.
just, yeah.
And the Barryville building is, you're gonna transition out of that?
We'll
eventually?
probably keep that as a separate storm station at this point. We also still have our paint shop in Berryville, and body shop that we run out of there, and our sign crew still comes out of Berryville. The paint shop, you would have to construct a new up-to-date paint shop in Maplewood in order to do so with regulatory requirements, would be a real lot of money.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep that one functional down there at this point in time, so. We haven't planned on, eventually we may move everything up, but for right now, there would still be some stuff working out of Berryville.
So can you explain this 495 and 955 split?
The total estimate, that's new buildings out there.
Yeah.
There are still preliminary estimates on getting everything complete out there to, I can get you a complete breakdown on what the estimates are.
No, I'm just wondering how you came up with that split.
495. Phase one and phase two.
Yeah, I'd have to go through the whole thing with you. It's getting all the equipment in the building, constructing the building, then all the equipment into the building that you're gonna need to work on in there,
So that means that you will not have a completed building at the end of 2015?
Not completely functional, no. It's going into more than one stage in order to do this.
So
Unless
you
we put it
won't
all
have-
into 1 year, we could do it all in 1 year. We're trying to break it up and get the cost to where we can work with.
So that means that, I'm sorry if I'm asking this
No.
question in a weird way. That means that at the end of 2016 is when you would have a fully operational new building?
Yes, and we'd also look, at some point, we have discussed, and we've discussed up here in the past, of moving actually the administration and engineering to Maplewood as well.
And they're happy with that idea?
They being
Who would be moving to Maplewood?
downstairs offices that we have in this building, everybody would move to Maplewood as far as that goes.
So you'd be okay?
Oh, I see, so this is admin. Oh, you're looking
You're
at
not
me.
trying, wait a minute, well, put a big
Say
note next
that.
to this building.
Come on now.
You're not leaving us.
I would probably have some form of office in this building at this, at still,
Oh,
but,
all of a
The
sudden.
reallocation of the rooms in this place.
yes, we would have more space in this government center. You know,
Cross
looking
that one
at
out.
it pretty good at the government center.
Sorry.
And actually, there are a lot of other DPWs that do function that way. Orange County, I
That
know,
would be under
does.
maintenance, it's to maintain your sanity.
Exactly.
So
All right, so I
that's
will-
that's a
I
long-range
would
thing
like
we're
to-
also looking
I
at.
would like to look at how you do the breakdown on that. Just send me the, or you send it to Annie.
Yep, we'll pull it all out.
Okay, page
A little more work for you.
That's right.
I know, just kidding.
And the tanks, I know you talked about earlier, but go ahead about the,
Yeah, this is a replacement in compliance with DEC. This is down in Berryville. We currently do testing on our tanks on a yearly basis called tightness testing. They are single wall tank. They really, in today's day, should be a double wall tank with interstitial monitoring. So that's the money for that one down
and
there.
God forbid, once they leak, because
Once
we've
they
had,
leak, they're a
it's gonna
problem.
be megabucks, so the DEC's coming in, and you don't wanna, right,
Yep.
deal with them. You
Yes,
have
we
to.
do.
Once you replace them, then they remain above ground or they go?
No,
back
this would be,
underground?
this one's large enough, it would still be an underground tank down there for our diesel fuel. We do have a lot of ours that go above ground though, where we can. Maplewoods would still remain under, they're still underground, but they become the fiberglass double wall tanks and they last a lot longer. When we can, we have raised a bunch of them above ground though right now for fuel. In Liberty, at the airport, Livingston Manors are above ground, Calicoons are above ground now, so. It's
So
the
do-
size of the tank that pretty much dictates it.
But they have the same restrictions with the DEC in terms of when they have to be replaced? If they're above?
They
ground?
want all the single wall tanks out. Currently, we're still not on the point where we can still do tightness testing on it, but the tank is old enough that it really needs to be replaced at this.
Anyway,
We have to test
yeah.
it every year to make sure it's not leaking. We also do reconciliations every day and every week that we have to keep in accordance with petroleum boat storage regulations. So we have to stick to tanks, we have to record on our reader route system how much fuel is going through.
Tanks that are underground are already replaced with the new fiberglass. How many tanks that are underground total? And then how old is the newest single wall?
The newest single wall is probably at least 15 years old. I gotta see the thing on the wall. I believe we have 3 of them left that are single wall underground tanks. We did Liberties 2 years ago. They're large, 10,000 gallon tank over by the Travis building. We completed, I think, 2 years ago that installation. We'll have to do this one. I think there's 2 of them down in Berryville, and there's one other one. I'll check and see exactly.
So we
what
have a
it is.
total of 3 that are in jeopardy, and that's where
Yeah.
you're doing the analysis. With the, I mean, you're doing this,
This is a replacement tank. This isn't analyzing anything. This is putting a new tank in the ground. We check them, we have to, under PBS rules, petroleum boat storage under the DEC, continue to monitor everything. Double wall, single wall doesn't matter. The single walls right now, we're still in compliance. We tightness test them every year, which means we make sure there's no
but we
leaks
only
in
have
them.
3 of them left.
Right, we're trying to get them off the inventory completely so that we're at least up to the new fiberglass. So they have a double wall tank, they have monitoring all the time, they have wiring in between, so if anything leaks out of the first main thing into the second one, we pick it up at that point before it does any outside
And we have a
contamination.
total of how many tanks?
Oh, I'd have to look that one up for you, we got quite a few.
lot.
Underground.
Yeah, we still have quite a few underground. We have a lot above ground, but we still have quite a few
But
underground.
it's the underground ones that we're worried about.
Well, we worry about them all. I mean, we can, above ground ones can leak too.
Right,
But
but the
isn't it more
spillage and the issue with the DEC is different with an underground versus above.
Isn't it more serious when it's underground? You gotta dig them up and it spreads, and that's when the DEC comes in and says, wait a minute.
Yeah,
you're
and you
gonna
have a pile of dirt
to
sitting
put-
there, if you've seen at any of the gas
Yeah.
stations, we have a big pile of dirt
Yeah.
sitting here with a cover over it.
Right.
They can require, depending on how much, when you do that, how extensive the
Right,
thing
that's
gets.
what I'm saying, we're more worried about the underground leaks.
We worry about them both, in all
What's
honesty.
the point of this question?
Well, he's explaining why he has to replace the tanks.
I know why he has to.
Oh, yeah, you, but you
Yeah,
do,
we
but they don't
generally
all know.
always replace
You
these,
know,
even in-
they don't all know why.
We weren't.
So I'd rather have them, have them ask the question, so that when we go to pass the capital budget, we'll have a 9-0 vote this year, not a whatever it is, so. Ed?
Okay, our next thing would be this building on our next page.
And,
Um,
what are we gonna replace?
This is the NIPA project.
You have to start.
We haven't gotten it yet. We are still trying to, so this money may actually be, NIPA project would be a way to fund this. It's not a grant, it's a low-interest loan,
Okay,
complete project, so there would still be, the cost will still be on the county. But just would be run through NIPA.
and how many, is it over several years?
The next page now.
We're on
Top of the
7, I'm
page,
sorry,
NIPA,
7, and we went to the 250,
Yeah,
so would it be over several years?
yes,
Good,
yes,
so that would,
long-range financing.
and the
um,
percentage on the finance, you remember?
They did the calculation
Okay,
for the preliminary estimate at 4%. They currently said it's less than 1%, but
Good.
just to run the numbers, they ran them at 4%
Okay.
as part of a standard thing. They said currently they're getting funding similar to what the bond.
I was just gonna ask,
The
I'm
bond
sorry
market
I
is-
wasn't here for most of it,
No,
but
that's
as you
fine.
know, our bonding has been really excellent right now,
Absolutely.
so.
And this NIPA funding currently is, they put it at 4% just to show us in the preliminary one. We just okayed them to proceed into the next phase of
And
that.
how long,
to
I'm
look
sorry
at.
again?
he said a couple of years, right, Ed? So,
Yeah, this, I'll have to see the exact payback in the number of years. This is the upfront cost, and then, but they would finance it. They still haven't done it, so we still have this money in as county money right now, because we still have to get through the project, and the design has to show that that's actually a viable project. NIPA will only fund it if they say that the savings can offset the cost to you. That's the whole idea of this project. That's why when I described it the other day for those
That
that
was
were
an added
Public Works,
sustainability, wasn't it?
and Public Works, I think I did it at both.
Yeah.
Like the window replacement, we had asked for that, cause we know these are not energy efficient windows. They said they could do it, but the payback isn't
Right.
there, so it doesn't qualify under that program that they have. The rooftop units do. They looked at the oil burner system in this one. They said they would prefer to be, in order to do it, they said high efficiency oil burner wouldn't produce enough savings, however propane would because of the efficiencies of propane boilers. But that means putting a large propane tank
Uh-uh.
adjacent to a government center
No.
building.
Right under
We
your
didn't
office.
think-
And if they wanna get
Right
us,
under
see,
your office.
one bullet.
What's that?
People do bury
Thanks,
propane
Gene.
tanks.
You
Just
can,
wanted to let
these
you
are
know.
very large ones,
Right,
and,
but what do we have out here right now, 20,000 gallon, 200, 20,000 gallon
yeah,
tank?
we have a large tank here.
Right, so that's propane, so you would be pulling that one up, I mean, that's oil, you'd be
That's oil.
pulling that one up and replacing it with propane.
And there is potential for, in talking to OSE, Steve Stewart and Carol Roy, there's potential on the upcoming alternate fuels besides oil that would work in an oil burner.
Right.
Propane doesn't have that as an option in the
Right.
future, so that's another consideration we looked at. It was from a number of standpoints of whether to switch to propane or stay with oil.
I came
So-
12 years
The
after it was
possibility
built.
also down the road.
They're going to look at it
Of natural
still in this
gas
project.
is a possibility with the two
Yes.
casinos as a possibility. I would bet there would be an interest in putting a line and therefore giving natural gas to
Yeah.
locally.
Yeah, we are still looking at that in the project, that is still part of the task they're looking at. Electric, oil, or propane are still not off the table.
Well, the
He's gonna be in
BTUs
Peru where he's going.
propane aren't as high as oil, but the efficiency and the.
It's a higher
that-
efficiency.
It's a cleaner burn.
Is right.
You know, you keep saying two casinos, do you know something we don't? I really wanna know what's going on.
just have,
Well, if she
It's
can't
his
add,
birthday.
I have rose-colored glass.
Oh, okay.
if she can't add, he can't count.
Kathy, it's Ira's birthday.
No, not.
No, it's
two
not,
weeks.
I can pick on him,
The 28th.
Oh, I'm
but we're not
sorry.
gonna be
We
here,
just
so
had
it's,
See, I told you couldn't
it's his
count.
birthday month.
So,
Okay.
birthday wish.
Yeah.
Can I just
Yeah, let's keep
get
moving along.
clarity on the difference between what the advantage is to a NIPA loan than to a bond? It's just that you're spreading your risk? I need to be
cheaper.
clear.
The whole thing with NIPA, just so you understand, this is a turnkey project. This is not just financing.
Okay.
This is preliminary walkthrough, complete design, bid
Okay.
documents, specifications, construction management, and hiring of a contractor, which we will oversee, but it's a turnkey project.
And that's done in-house through the engineers here, or it's?
No, NIPA is
NIPA
doing,
does it.
NIPA's doing a turnkey project. They're not just
Okay.
financing a project,
Okay.
they're actually coming up,
Running.
yeah,
Money.
coming through us. I mean, we will oversee what's going on, but they're actually doing a design
It's not
construction
17,000.
project.
And so the difference
What?
between the
17,000.
interest rate
For
and the
what?
bond rate is what?
Their rates will be the same.
Oh, okay, so then with the added value is they've got the headache.
The cost savings, not having to do the expense of that also.
Right, their costs, I think, in total
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
project are
See, I paid that.
somewhere around $150,000 for consulting and
Have to
design
give you a raise, you're
and
paying too much.
oversight on their end of it. The project itself will be much more expensive, but
And the advantage of spreading it over 3 years if NIPA does it?
This is how long it takes, right?
that's what it'll cost, yeah, as time goes on. It's not all gonna be in one year.
But they will do.
This is
a-
if they're gonna still do it. They may say, as design goes, we don't anticipate that because they've been positive at this point, that, oh, after all, the savings aren't here. The companies that came through, did the preliminary walkthrough, feel the savings can be achieved in different projects on this. It's still up for us to decide which projects we want to do or don't want to do, so we have the money in. It is gonna take a period of years to complete, so we won't need all the money in 1 year.
And would you say that the re-roofing is part and parcel of the rooftop, or is a separate project?
It is a separate project from NIPA because NIPA does not see, and we ask them, and they'll look at, but enough of a return in the same way they can't do the windows. There's no significant energy savings that would pay for the roof. The roof will realize, we re-insulate, we do a few things, we will see some energy savings, but not enough to offset the cost of the roof, so it doesn't qualify for the NIPA project. So in that respect, yes, it will be a separate project.
Is the roofing such that it needs replacing regardless of whether
Oh, yeah.
it's energy
Yeah,
efficient?
Yep, this is one of our buildings that's
Yeah.
coming due for a roof.
Lot of leaks.
So what, the
Don't print that.
sequencing of that is, should the roof repair happen first and then the HVAC?
Yeah, we'll work all that out with
Okay.
them as we go,
Okay.
Should go hand in hand, so
as
you
long
know.
as, yeah,
Yeah,
so
just
that
so we're
once
not
you're
ripping
tearing
anything.
things
Well, this
out, you're
building
ready
is
to go.
built in 1975, so that's the same roof from,
There's your
is
answer.
it the original roof? And,
No,
I
it's
mean, that-
been done,
Oh, it has?
was done, I think before I started, but yeah.
So,
No, it's been a while.
okay,
It probably was in the early nineties, it was probably a
90s?
20-year roof on that.
Moving
And
right
it's
along.
been 20-some years since then, so it's
okay.
time.
The repairs for the sidewalks, the two
Ongoing
hundred
stuff,
thousand?
yeah. We're doing actually a very nice
Take a
job
walk
right
outside
now.
on your lunch break?
There is still going to
You're
be
doing a
more
wonderful
work to do
job.
next year.
Don't trip, you can't see
You
your own
don't
employer.
trip.
And where do you have the courthouse sidewalks listed?
I don't on this one, because we didn't have them in yet on this one.
Is that federal money we get from the courthouse? Or does the
Yeah.
county?
They get some reimbursement, depending on if it's
State.
through,
I mean state, I'm sorry,
through
the state pays
unified
for that.
court system.
Okay. Let the state pay for the courthouse.
So when would the courthouse ever be repaired? It's not in the capital budget in
Not
any
at
way,
this
shape,
point,
or
no.
form?
It does have to be done at some point here, and we will move that up at some point. It's just trying to
Okay.
get to the other ones. We have the Liberty complex still to complete, we have this complex to
Right.
complete.
Courthouse is in here somewhere.
We're actually doing some maintenance on a courthouse roof right now that's
Dome,
leaking.
right?
We still have to redo that. We're actually out getting materials right now to try and deal with some of the leaks with the product for that roof.
I just want the bigger stuff. Okay, and the $600,000 for the drainage and paving,
Yeah,
the last item,
we actually had that in for this year.
you keeping that in?
Then in July, the flood kind of really threw off our work. I think we spent some 6,000 hours working on flood recovery, I believe, in man hours. That, in a construction season that really runs from April to now, is a lot of hours that we lost, so to speak, by doing flood repairs. That was one of the projects we were planning on trying to get to in-house this year. That did not happen. It's carried into this one. And some of these, like the 200,000, we weren't sure if we were gonna get to. We prepare, this capital plan is due up in May. So we actually put this up before our construction season has really even gotten going. So you will see some of this stuff that does get up already that was in last year's.
So
And
this
we don't know if it
project
got,
This project is for the Travis parking lot, which
Yeah,
is
for
in
Liberty.
really bad shape.
drainage and parking, and
As
parking
well
lot.
as the parking lot in the back of the building, which isn't as bad when
Yeah,
the
yeah,
traffic
that had-
comes in.
We did that design 12 years ago already.
Okay,
We've
so
been-
the 600,000 includes the paving of that whole area around the Travis building.
Yes, that's
as a
what it was
priority.
for.
Right.
Just a point, I mean, it's in here as a request, but we borrowed the county share portion of this in March when you, as part of that bigger bond authorization. So it was anticipated to do it this year, but like Ed said, due to the
Okay, so
flooding.
Time
portion of it
constrictions.
has been,
No, we have the
is in-
cash in essence, we borrowed the money, the county share portion to do this, but due to the loss of man hours, it didn't get done.
Yeah, we
this
didn't
year.
get to that one.
So,
That
right,
would've
so
been in.
what would be a timeframe for that? Would you?
We're hoping now for next construction season.
Right.
This year, I mean, it's not gonna happen, and it would be an earlier one next year.
Early in 15?
It is the intent. It was the intent this year, though, and I'm gonna be honest about that with our staffing levels. If something comes up, obviously.
Well, there's been some issues there with people falling. That's
Oh, no,
why
I
it's-
understand. And I
yeah.
mean, we're falling back and looking at the possibility, at least putting together, I'll see what the cost estimates come at
Mm-hmm.
in order to contract it, just as a backup. I mean, it changes also a lot of the work in engineering. I mean, our set of plans that we have and this work we've done is towards doing it in-house. To redo that as a set of plans that get bid out is a much different set of plans, so it'll be a lot of work on engineering downstairs in order to switch that around.
Okay.
And it will cost more as far as the construction goes as well. We wanna see how much. Because you get a day like this, we could be thrown out again if this
Yep.
rain continues.
Right.
With the staffing size we have, when we respond to that, we do lose a lot of hours.
Kitty and then Cora, because Kitty was been waiting. Kitty?
Okay, one of the questions that I have regarding this Travis, parking lot repair, for better wording. One of the concerns had to deal with the staff and the building itself, and potentially moving some of the staff into one of the other buildings. So, is there a way to just, I don't wanna say patch, but for lack of a better word, patch the
You
pieces
still
that are
need
more
it, though,
serious?
for the public health
But if we're
hospitals.
moving, we're talking about the Travis building, we're not talking about the public health building.
We were out there patching last week on that. We've patched it a couple times this year and we continue to do so.
I mean, because that, I would think, would result in a savings from the 600, no?
No, the patching we do is just patching. It's not gonna be,
I'm just
it's all gotta
suggesting
come out.
Right,
So-
but if we're planning on not using the Travis building for what it is presently used for, which is public Department of Family Services, if we are able to rearrange some of those offices into some other buildings that we own, such as some offices here, some offices up at the mental health building, Joe Tedora's building, then
anything
we
that
wouldn't
would-
necessarily need the whole parking lot repaired.
If, for all the services that remain in Liberty, would still use this same parking lot, whether or not it's in the Travis building or in, with Joe Tedora. So those would be, if the services are removed completely, you may have a reduction in parking, but with the public going there for services, it doesn't matter whether they're going in the Travis building or into, you know, one of the other ones, they would still need the parking, so those lots would still be required. If you took a significant number of the services that are required by the public and took them out, you know, taking out 20 employees isn't gonna really impact the amount of work we have to do out there.
Okay.
Where is this parking lot expansion? Can you
Well,
just describe?
it's not an expansion, it's a reconstruction of all the parking in the DFS, you know, over on the Liberty complex.
So I'm just gonna cross out parking lot
Drainage.
expansion.
Yeah, I mean, there is some in the back that would be addressed a little bit differently, but primarily it's reconstruction of what's there.
Cora, you had a question?
That was it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. We're done with that page, we'll go to page
Sure.
8. We're on 8 now. Yeah.
Shared clinic, we actually did address this in money. Again, this is one that didn't get out this year, but will. This is a cleaning of the buildings. This building needs it as well. You know, you can see it outside. It does. It really needs a cleaning and sealing.
You know, I gotta ask about the last one,
Oh,
Plaza Drive building. Is that on hold?
Yes.
Plaza Drive, where am I?
Bottom of that page.
Page 9.
9.
Road patrol.
Wait,
The next
Oh, he
page.
has
Oh, is
500,000.
it the next page?
Yeah, it's
Did I miss a
9,
page?
sorry,
I thought I-
Gina's 9, yeah. The
I
last,
thought we had done that already, I'm sorry, my
The
fault.
I just wanna go back
Oh.
1 sec.
okay.
If that's
Oh,
okay.
Plaza Drive, I got it now.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's on hold.
Okay, I kinda figured that, I just had to ask.
Yeah, obviously they're in need, and I've talked to the sheriff, it's not ideal where they are, but I think money-wise, the preference would be, locating them at the, whatever jail complex is built. And I've talked to LaBella about potentially, if we ever get to that bid stage, having that as a bid alternate. So,
That's a good idea.
you could, depending on interest rates and cost, you could choose to do that all at once or not. Cause at some point, you're gonna have to spend money somewhere,
So
so.
it's staying in 2015?
No,
No,
it's coming
I
out.
think if you read between lines, no.
it's on hold.
It's on hold, yeah.
Yeah, I just know.
In the meantime, I've got a couple of calls from the gentlemen that work over there, and I have asked Ed just to keep his eyes open for another building, just in case, because when we start the jail, construction, it's gonna be a couple years, so I mean, I don't know how long this is gonna go on, so just keep your eyes open, and if another building becomes available, because, you know, there's issues over there, and you know what they are,
Right.
so.
So can
Yeah,
I
I think we need to
backtrack
try to
for a
resolve
second?
that situation
Right, I mean-
as soon as
With the
possible.
Bushnell building.
Yeah,
But do you agree it belongs with the new jail, Alan? I mean, that's.
I do.
Okay.
I didn't mean to bring this
No,
conversation
no,
up
no,
again.
I wanted you to, go
But
ahead.
you do.
But I don't think we-
Yeah, what the hell's wrong with you? No.
Where do you want me to begin?
Not to what we're saying.
Alan?
The
It started in
existing
1951, the day I was
conditions
born.
are horrible, and I think we need to try to address that sooner. I don't know what space we have available, but
Well, I told Ed
So, I just have one quick question since it's 11:30 and we're supposed to have our executive committee meeting. How do we know how much of the 9.5 million bond from 2014 was or wasn't spent at this point for 2015?
Oh, I can give you that
Is it-
number. We're
Can you
definitely
give it to
behind
Andy?
some, there's no question about it, some of the projects didn't get completed, we got, when you hit with the flood in the middle of the season, kind of really threw us off. And then I had the resignation of one of my guys who was in charge of all the vehicle purchasing, so I'm behind on that right now. We will get back up to speed on that hopefully shortly. I will be putting in a request to refill that position, but he was in charge of
And
all my
Cora, we're
bids
gonna,
going out, so.
the stuff that we're gonna
If you
take.
could send that information to Emery.
And Cora, we're gonna have another capital budget meeting, and some of the stuff is gonna be taken out, so you'll see the final column, which is what, is gonna want a bond, opposed to this.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be all of this, that's for sure, we just don't have the
Yeah.
money.
I would
but-
say that to date, we've probably spent over 7 million, but not 9 million.
So, my final question, I'm gonna make it very brief, is tell me about the ACC roof.
Okay, that should be starting construction any day.
So that's gonna remain in the 2014 budget.
Yeah, that was bonded for that, or, well,
Yeah.
that was bonded for under a different bond of $750,000. The bid came in somewhere over 500,000. There are potential additional costs, which we have accounted for in the fact that when they pull the roof off, we said any insulation underneath the roof bearing that is still in good shape, we will remain there rather than tearing all of that
Okay.
out and putting it in. It's several dollars a square foot. However, we do know there are some areas we have costs for that to cut out and replace the underlayment and the insulation as well. So that will also occur, so will be somewhat more than 500,000, we don't know the exact dollar amount yet.
And that construction is going to be completed in the next financial year?
That should be, they claim they can still finish it this season.
Okay.
So it will be underway shortly, and we are trying to get it done this season yet.
And that's gonna require.
And that's also a shared house, we're doing a small roof on that building as well.
Is that
Small
gonna
portion.
require any closing of the wings and stuff like that?
No, that's all roof work, they'll be fine, they'll be able to work out there.
Thanks.
Okay, page 10. We're gonna just do a couple more pages, just to go over for a couple minutes, because there will be another meeting in November, so Scott, just 5 minutes, if you don't mind, let Ed, because I don't wanna
Okay,
go.
we discussed those real quickly.
Okay, thank you. Ed?
I think we've covered this page.
Okay.
The
10, yeah.
CPDM roof at the Shared Clinic, that's also went out with the bid for the ACC roof, so
Okay.
those two are underway.
11,
This one is storage. Danny Briggs had requested that we
Right.
move it up a year. We had it further out. We've moved it into next year. That's to get additional storage at a building we have over in the Liberty Complex.
And there's no grant funding for this?
None that we're aware of.
I thought Art was looking into.
He may,
Okay.
we haven't.
We've had,
But nothing, right?
Ed, on
No.
page 10, you have Plaza Drive building propane
That's-
tank replacement.
That's on hold. Everything to do
Yes,
with Plaza
2016.
Drive pretty much right now is in limbo.
Okay, page
Yeah.
12,
Yeah,
Okay, we just did those. We've got a couple salt sheds that we're re-roofing that are in very bad condition, holes in them. Then we're into our roll-ups here.
yeah.
Where's the salt shed? What page
Where
is
are
that
the
on?
12?
12 back there. We have 2 salt sheds, $15,000 each.
Back a page.
And if you're just gonna go under the, you wanna stop at this page
Okay.
12?
Yeah, that's
and
fine.
we'll
I
talk
thought it was
about-
here.
okay.
Yeah, always.
Okay,
Good place. Then we're into roll-ups anyway, so.
okay, then we're gonna stop at this page. Remind me we stopped at 12.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
Yes,
Kitty,
ma'am.
hold on, shh, folks.
Yep.
But it's,
Kitty?
last month it came in through Public Works about the governor promised monies for road repair regarding the flooding. And I'm
Yes.
wondering at what state, what are we doing, which towns are involved, when, how do we put pressure on? Because we all know
Nope.
the governor right
I got
now is coming up for election.
Got-
And if he's not there, are we gonna get the money?
Yes, here's the
This
deal,
will be after the election.
here's the
But
deal.
it's not political.
No,
Remember that.
no.
We got a letter
Right.
in last week from Dormitory Authority, State of New York. They are going to be the ones administering this program. We actually have a conference call with them tomorrow. Myself, Art Hussey, Melissa, will be talking to them on exactly how to administer this funding. It is, they're used to doing building projects, not so much flood recovery, so we have to switch it around a little bit. The 2.8 million came directly to the county as the, I guess we'll call ourselves the lead agency at this
okay.
point,
Mhm.
sponsor, however
Right.
we wanna
Yeah.
say it. This is some of the questions we have for tomorrow. The town of Callicoon, town of Bethel, town of Delaware, and village of Jeffersonville are also involved in this. They were not cited in the grant in any way, shape, or form. It only says to the county. So part of our thing is, we will be administering the funds to those entities as well.
Would you repeat those ones, Calhoun, Jeff?
Delaware, Jeffersonville, and Bethel.
Delaware.
And
Yep.
Bethel.
I thought it was
that's where my
Fremont.
question
I thought
comes in.
Fremont was in there.
No,
Right.
no.
As
So
far
it's
as,
Three towns in the
Delaware,
village.
Bethel,
Calhoun.
Calhoun, and Jeff.
Jefferson.
Okay.
Correct.
And the county.
And the county.
the county as a whole, my question is
The
the
county-
allocation.
Hold on,
Sorry,
Paul.
I'm
Kitty's
still-
out,
Sorry.
Kitty.
It's 2.8 is coming to the county, and then we're funding it out specifically to those places
And ourselves.
and ourselves,
Yes.
okay?
It's 2.8 million, it's a reimbursement program, so it has to cover expenses, you know, monies that were expended. Apparently, we have 3 years to complete it. A lot of work's been done. The first thing we have to do is sit down and have calls in now to the highway superintendents as well. I hope to finish all my conversations with them, at least preliminarily today.
The highways of the towns that you just named.
Yes,
Yes.
they have to come up with what their actual costs are to date. What did you fix? How much did it cost you? Where's your backup? Then we can look at, is that 1.5 million and we have 1.3 to deal with? Was it 2.9 million and we have to come up with 100,000 that we divide up among everybody that they don't get? We don't know that answer yet. My feeling is it's under 2.8 at this point. It's less than that, and we'll have to then look at, okay, how much money is left and what, you know, what work, we still have a lot of work we can do under flood recovery. We have paving work, we have several retaining walls that still need to be constructed that can be funded underneath this. It
So
has to be flood-related
Mhm.
damage.
Does that cover overtime, Ed? Overtime we had to pay
That,
for the,
we're
no?
gonna have to find that out tomorrow in the conversation, that's one of our things.
Okay.
DASNY doesn't normally do this,
Right.
so we have to see what they're funding. They're not, State Office of Emergency Management and FEMA are not involved in it.
Oh. Kitty, any other questions? Cause city.
Well, this flood recovery monies that you're gonna have a conversation with the highway superintendents of the different towns. Is the plan to mainly fund them and then we get the leftovers, or how is there a division of that? How is that?
I think it needs to be funded fairly between everybody. It's not like we give, they did a preliminary assessment of damages where they came up with the 2.8. It was done the day after the flooding. They're very early estimates. They're to see if you would qualify in the event FEMA does a declaration. FEMA did not do a declaration. However, that's the amount of funding that they utilized for DASNY to give us, the 2.8. They took, okay, you said 2.8, here's 2.8. We'll have to justify that those are all flood related, you know.
But it's not necessarily 1/4.
Nope,
No.
there's no guidelines at all that we've been given to date.
Well, didn't you say one township had $20,000?
That was in the preliminary one.
Initially,
Yes.
okay.
4 square inches of land.
Cindy,
Yeah, I
You're welcome.
think that was kind of my question, because initially the estimates from the towns that were provided were not necessarily written in stone, they weren't even written down, I understand there was.
No, they were written down by
That's why they call them
FEMA.
estimates.
State Office of Emergency Management came out and did preliminary damage assessments.
No, I'm
What they
saying
do
on
every.
the side of the town, so the estimates could be lower than what the town has identified.
Or they
Because
could be
in
higher.
conversation with some
Yeah.
of my towns, you know, in particular, the one that we spoke about, there was
Yeah.
a bridge that they didn't include in that estimate.
Mhm.
So now, my question is, when you go back to the towns to determine the allocation, will the county do that, the state do that in cooperation with the towns?
I believe it will likely be the county and the towns.
Okay, so the town should revisit their flood damage
And
and make
restore the
sure
township.
that if it's a $20,000 estimate and that falls short of their, their needs, then they should resubmit that, right?
They have to
They have to
submit
submit
what
with
they actually,
documentation.
they need to, if they fixed 10 miles of road, they have to come in with backup for labor, equipment, and material that they used and say, here's how much money we expended, here's the receipts for the materials, here's our time cards, this is what they worked on.
But some of this, damage is ongoing. I know with the bridge that, we had spoken about is something that, they haven't addressed yet because they're not sure whether they're getting that allotment from that 2.8 million.
Right, and it has to be damaged infrastructure that gets funded under this. It's not, this is not mitigation funding at this point from what I understand, but I'll have that conversation
Okay,
further
and
with
so-
DASNY.
I was, understanding that that recent storm damage was concentrated pretty much in those 4 townships and the village?
Correct,
Okay, so.
absolutely.
Okay, so like Kitty has said, what's gonna be left over, there shouldn't really be too much left over if the damage is concentrated in those townships. So it's gonna be up to the townships to get their numbers in order, so those estimates that may have been low will get.
Again, they were just
go up.
estimates to see if we could get in. They based the 2.8 million on that. Now we have to look what everybody's real costs are and go from there.
So you're having a conversation tomorrow with Gasney, a conference call, and on
Correct.
that conference call will be yourself and
Art
Gasney and Art. And those are the 3 on the call.
And Melissa, and
Okay.
our financial, no, she's not available.
Cause as a legislator for District 5, I wanna make sure that my townships are funded for what their costs are going to be, because I understand.
We have
some-
up to
Yeah.
2.8
some-
million.
That's
Some of
right.
those
Right.
have not been.
Hold on one-
What everybody has to
worked
understand
on.
is this was ultimately almost a gift from the state.
Absolutely.
It wasn't planned on, it's a wonderful thing that they gave us.
Absolutely.
So, at this point in time, the county suffered the largest loss. So the county is going to take precedence probably, but everybody has to come forward with what they've done, how much it cost them, and then it will be determined how that 2.8 will be split up. That's all we're getting is 2.8, so if it's more, that if somebody has spent more and it can't be covered, unfortunately, that does fall back into the jurisdiction. But the 2.8 is gonna go a long way in helping
It will.
with that flooding. So we're
Absolutely.
tremendously grateful, but
We're not
it's not gonna
questioning that,
cover
right.
everything.
Absolutely, I just wanted to, I was concerned with elections coming up, whether or not the 2.8 will disappear if.
No,
if the-
no, it's already been designated and they're
It's
gonna
the
be working on it
dormitory
and stuff.
authority.
Okay,
And I got a note from the
It's
governor's
already been
office
allocated,
that
it cannot
wanted-
disappear.
confirming
I'm
that it's
just-
going forward.
I'm just telling you.
confirming is good.
And
Yeah.
just for clarification,
This isn't
we
Catholic Church.
maintain 400 bridges, correct, Ed? Ed has a list of the bridges. The bridges that are in the most need of repair are the bridges that will be repaired first, correct, Ed? What?
Yeah,
how-
under this one, this particular funding will have to be, if it was flood related, and we do
Right.
have 2, we're actually rebuilding one right now in the Beechwoods, and we have another one that we definitely need to work on, and we have a number of embankments that need to be repaired yet, so we'll have to look at all those.
Right, so you,
We'll have to look at what the towns have left to repair. I know Talcoon suffered a lot of damage that they have not fixed all of yet. Town of Delaware, I know, so we'll look at all those numbers. I'll sit with the highway superintendents and we'll look at all the work that's out there and what has to be
Thank you,
done.
Ed.
okay, so we'll continue this, meeting, in November when I have our next.
November 6th at 1 o'clock.
Okay,
So we're
November 6th.
recessing, we're not.
No.
No, we're gonna close.
It's a
Any
regular
public comment?
meeting.
Can anybody?
We're starting on page 12. correct?
Yes,
Okay.
please,
Of this
hold on to
location.
these,
If
yeah.
you numbered them.
This is the
correctly.
3rd time they're gonna be given out.
That's right.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second it.